Have you ever walked into someone's home feeling perfectly fine, maybe even excited for a visit, only to leave feeling like the life's been sucked out of you? It's like your energy just vanished, and you're not quite sure why. If you're over 60, you've probably noticed that your time and energy are more precious than ever. How you spend your days, and more importantly, who you spend them with, can make or break your sense of peace and happiness. As we get older, we start to realize that not every visit is worth our time. Some people, even those we've known for years, can leave us feeling drained, frustrated, or just off. And here's the thing at this stage of life. You deserve to surround yourself with people who lift you up, not pull you down. Today, we're diving into something really important for anyone over 65, protecting your emotional well-being by being mindful about whose homes you visit. We're going to talk about 4 types of people you should steer clear of, no matter how much free time you. Ascending the bell icon for notifications. These are the folks whose negativity, manipulation, drama, or obsession with the past can chip away at your happiness and peace of mind. Whether it's out of habit, obligation, or just not wanting to seem rude, many of us keep showing up at these homes, not realizing the toll it takes. But here's the good news. Once you recognize these patterns, you can take control, set boundaries, and spend your golden years with people who truly make you feel good. Before we get started, if you're finding this helpful already, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep bringing you content like this to help you live your best life. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a new video. Now, let's jump into the first type of person you should think twice about visiting after 65. Picture this: you walk into someone's home, maybe a friend or a family member, and before you can even sit down, they let out a big sigh. "Oh, my back's been killing me," they say, or you won't believe what the neighbor did this time. It's like they've got a dark cloud hanging over them. And no matter what's going on, they'll find something to grumble about. These are the chronic complainers, and their homes can feel like an energy vacuum. You know the type. Nothing's ever good enough. The weather's too hot. The economy's a mess. Nobody visits them anymore, even if they just got great news. They'll spin it into something negative, and if you spend too long in their space, that negativity starts to rub off on you. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone has bad days. We all need to vent sometimes. And it's okay to lend a listening ear to a friend who's going through a rough patch. But chronic complainers are different. They don't just have a bad day, they've made negativity their whole personality. They don't want solutions or advice, they want an audience. They thrive on sympathy, and they'll keep pulling you back, visit after visit, until you're carrying their problems like a backpack full of bricks. You might walk into their home feeling upbeat, but by the time you leave, you're exhausted, maybe even a little hopeless yourself. That's because negativity is contagious. It's not just about hearing a few complaints. It's the emotional weight they pile on you. The longer you stay, the more you absorb their frustration, their belief that the world's out to get them. Here's a story to make this real. My friend Susan used to visit her cousin every Sunday. At first, it was fine, a quick catch-up, a cup of tea. But over time, Susan noticed every visit was the same. Her cousin would complain about her kids, her health, even the tea being too weak. Susan would try to cheer her up, share a positive idea, but her cousin would just brush it off or turn it into another gripe. One day, Susan realized she was dreading those visits. She'd come home feeling heavy, like she'd spent 2 hours solving someone else's problems with nothing to show for it. Sound familiar? That's the chronic complainer's effect. The tricky part is, they don't always seem toxic right away. It might start with small things, a comment about a bad night's sleep, a little jab about the neighbor's noisy dog, but before you know it, you're stuck in a loop of endless complaints. You offer advice. They ignore it. You try to change the subject. They steer it back to their woes. Have you ever tried sharing something positive with someone like this? You say, "Hey, I had a great day at the park," and they'll respond with, "Must be nice. I can't even walk that far anymore." It's like they're determined to dim your light over time. These visits chip away at your emotional reserves. You might not even realize it until you're driving home, wondering why you feel so irritable or drained. Here's a tip. Pay attention to how you feel after leaving someone's home. If you're consistently leaving their place feeling worse than when you arrived, that's a red flag. After 65, your time is too valuable to spend soaking up someone else's endless negativity. It's not about being unkind. Offering support to someone in need is important, but there's a difference between kindness and sacrificing your peace of mind. You're not responsible for carrying someone else's refusal to find happiness. Protect your energy by limiting those visits. Maybe suggesting a phone call instead. It's about setting boundaries that keep you feeling your best. Now, let's talk about another type of person whose home can leave you feeling more used than valued. You've probably met someone like this. They're all smiles when you show up. But there's always a catch. Maybe they need a ride to the store, help with a chore, or just someone to listen to their latest sob story. At first, it seems harmless, a small favor here, a quick errand there. But over time, you start to notice a pattern. They don't call just to chat or see how you're doing. Every invitation comes with an expectation. And before you know it, you're spending your visit doing their to-do list instead of enjoying your time together. These are the manipulative users, and their homes can feel like a trap. What makes manipulative users so tricky is how they hide their intentions. They don't just come out and ask for what they want, they wrap it in guilt, flattery, or emotional bait. They'll say things like, "I don't know what I'd do without you," or "You're the only one who gets me." They might play up how lonely they are, making you feel like you're their only lifeline. And suddenly, you're not just visiting, you're fixing their computer, babysitting their grandkids, or running errands they could have handled themselves. It's not about mutual support. Like a true friendship where both sides give and take. With manipulative users, it's all take. You give your time, your energy, and they just keep expecting more. Let me share an example. My neighbor Tom used to visit an old colleague who lived alone. The guy would call Tom up, saying, "I'd love to see you. It's been too long." But every time Tom went over, there was a job waiting help with yard work, a broken shelf to fix, you name it. At first, Tom didn't mind, but then he noticed the visits were always about what his colleague needed. If Tom said he was busy, the guy would lay on the guilt. "I guess I'll just have to figure it out alone." Tom started feeling obligated, not appreciated. That's the manipulative user's game. They make you feel responsible for their problems. Here's a key sign to watch for how do they react when you say no. If you turn down a request and they get sulky, guilt trip you, or act like you've let them down, that's a clear signal. Their invitations aren't about enjoying your company, they're about what you can do for them. After 65, you don't have the energy to play that game. Your time is for people who value you, not just what you can offer. If someone only reaches out when they need something, try this politely. Decline a favor once and see how they respond. If they pull away or get upset, you've got your answer. Focus on relationships that feel balanced, where you leave their home feeling valued, not used. We've covered two types of people whose homes can drain you: the chronic complainer and the manipulative user. Both can chip away at your peace if you're not careful. But there are a couple more we need to talk about. Folks who bring chaos or drag you into the past in ways that sap your joy. Stick with me, because understanding these patterns will help you protect your energy and make every moment count. So, we've talked about how chronic complainers can turn a visit into an emotional black hole, and how manipulative users make you feel like a means to an end rather than a valued friend. But there's another type of person whose home can leave you feeling like you just stepped off a roller coaster you didn't sign up for. You walk in expecting a pleasant chat, maybe a cup of coffee and some laughs. But instead, you're hit with a whirlwind of conflict and chaos. These are the drama magnets, and their homes are like stages for never-ending soap operas. If you're over 65, your peace is too precious to spend it dodging emotional landmines. So let's dive into why you should think twice about visiting these folks. You probably know someone like this. Every time you see them, there's a new crisis unfolding. Maybe it's a feud with a neighbor, a falling out with a family member, or some big misunderstanding that's got them riled up. It's not just that drama finds them, they seem to create it. You might show up at their place thinking you'll catch up on old times, but before you can even get comfortable, they're launching into a long, winding story about how someone wronged them, betrayed them, or disrespected them. And here's the kicker, they don't just want you to listen, they want you to pick a side, to nod along, to get as worked up as they are. Before you know it, you're not having a friendly visit, you're caught in the middle of their latest battle. What makes drama magnets so exhausting is that they thrive on chaos. When things are calm, they get restless, like they need something to stir up, so they'll gossip about someone's bad behavior, blow a small disagreement out of proportion, or twist a story to make themselves the victim. You might try to stay neutral, saying something like, "Oh, maybe it was just a misunderstanding," but they'll push back, maybe even get annoyed, because they need you to be on their team. If you agree with them, they'll reward you with more juicy details, pulling you deeper into their mess. But if you disagree or try to change the subject, watch out, they might take it personally. You could even end up as the next villain in their story. Let me paint a picture. My friend Linda used to visit a neighbor who was always in the middle of some drama. One week, it was a fight with her sister over a family heirloom. The next, it was how the mailman was deliberately losing her packages. Linda would go over for what she thought would be a quick chat, but she'd end up spending hours listening to these wild stories. The neighbor would say things like, "You agree with me, don't you?" Linda, I mean, who does that? Linda felt like she was walking on eggshells, trying not to say the wrong thing. By the time she got home, she was emotionally wiped out, replaying the conversation in her head, wondering how she got roped into it. That's what drama magnets do. They pull you into their chaos, and you leave their home feeling tense, not refreshed. Here's why this is such a big deal. After 65, at this stage of life, you've earned the right to peace. You don't need to spend your energy navigating someone else's self-made crises. Drama magnets don't just drain you during the visit, their influence can linger. You might find yourself worrying about their conflicts, second-guessing your own relationships, or even feeling paranoid about who's against you. Their tension becomes your tension, and that's not what your golden years are for. Real friends don't drag you into unnecessary stress. They don't make you feel like you're tiptoeing through a minefield just to have a conversation. If you're leaving someone's home feeling like you need a nap or a stiff drink to recover, it's time to ask yourself, why am I going back? Here's a practical way to spot a drama magnet. Think about your last few visits with them. Was there always some kind of conflict or gossip at the center of the conversation? Did you feel pressured to take sides or keep up with their latest saga? If so, try this the next time they start spinning a dramatic tale. Gently steer the conversation elsewhere. Say something like, "Oh, that sounds tough. Hey, have you seen any good movies lately?" If they keep circling back to the drama, that's a sign they're not interested in peace. They're hooked on the chaos. You don't have to cut them off completely, but you can protect your energy by keeping visits short or meeting in neutral places, like a cafe, where it's easier to exit gracefully. Now, let's shift gears to another type of person whose home can pull you down in a different way. Have you ever spent time with someone who seems stuck in the past, not in a warm, nostalgic way, but in a way that feels heavy, like they're carrying a suitcase full of regrets? These are the negative nostalgics. and their homes can feel like museums of bitterness and lost opportunities. When you visit them, the conversation always seems to circle back to what went wrong in their life, who let them down, what they missed out on, or how things used to be so much better. At first, it might seem like they're just reminiscing, but there's a difference between sharing memories and being trapped in a cycle of resentment. You might know someone like this. You sit down for a chat, and they start talking about an old family argument that happened 20 years ago, or a job they didn't get, or a friend who betrayed them decades back. It's not just storytelling, it's reliving the pain over and over. They'll say things like, "If only I'd done things differently," or "Life was so much better back then." No matter what's happening in their life now, their focus is on what they've lost, not what they still have. And here's where it gets tricky. Their mindset can start to rub off on you. You might walk into their home feeling optimistic about your day, but after an hour of listening to their regrets, you start thinking about your own what-ifs. Things you thought you'd move past, like a missed opportunity or an old hurt, suddenly creep back into your mind. I remember my Uncle Joe dealing with this. He'd visit an old buddy from work, and every time, the guy would talk about how their company screwed them over in the 90s, or how their old neighborhood was paradise compared to today. Joe would try to lighten the mood, maybe mention a new hobby he'd picked up, but his friend would just sigh and say, "What's the point? Nothing's as good as it used to be." Joe started noticing that after these visits, he'd feel down, questioning his own choices, even though he'd been perfectly happy before. That's the danger of negative nostalgics. They don't just dwell on their own past, they can pull you into a mindset where you start seeing life through their lens of loss and disappointment. What makes this so important after 65 is that this is your time to embrace the present and look forward to what's still possible. Life isn't perfect, and we've all had our share of hardships, but there's always something to be grateful for: new experiences, new connections, or even just the simple joy of a sunny day. Negative nostalgics don't see it that way. To them, the best days are gone, and they're not interested in finding joy now. If you spend too much time in their home, you might start to feel that way too, like the world has nothing left to offer. But that's not true. Your life is still full of possibilities, and you deserve to spend it with people who see that. Here's a way to handle this. If you're visiting someone who keeps dwelling on the past, try gently redirecting the conversation to the present. Ask about something current, like, "What's been keeping you busy lately?" or share a positive plan of your own, like a trip you're looking forward to. If they keep pulling the talk back to old regrets, that's a sign they're stuck. You don't have to avoid them entirely, but you can limit how much time you spend in their space. Suggest a quick meetup somewhere else, or call instead of visiting. Protect your optimism by surrounding yourself with people who appreciate what life still has in store. We've now explored the drama magnets, who thrive on chaos, and the negative nostalgics, who can drag you into their past. Both can sap your energy and steal your peace if you're not careful. But there's more to this conversation. Stick with me as we wrap up with some final thoughts on how to protect your well-being and make every visit count. Now that we've walked through the chaos of drama magnets and the heavy weight of negative nostalgics, let's bring this all together and talk about how you can protect your peace of mind as you navigate your relationships after 65. You've worked hard to get to this stage of life, and your time, energy, and happiness are worth guarding. The people we've talked about: chronic complainers, manipulative users, drama magnets, and negative nostalgics, might not seem harmful on the surface, but their homes can become places where your joy gets chipped away, little by little. Today, we're wrapping up with some final thoughts on why this matters, how to spot the difference between relationships that nourish you and those that drain you, and what you can do to make sure your golden years are filled with people who truly lift you up. Let's dive in. Think back to the last time you left someone's home and felt heavier than when you arrived. Maybe you were tired, not physically, but emotionally, like you'd been carrying someone else's burdens. Or maybe you felt a little off, questioning yourself or your choices, even though you were perfectly fine before the visit. These are signs that you've been spending time with someone who's taking more from you than they're giving. After 65, you don't have the time or energy to keep pouring into relationships that leave you feeling like that. Your peace of mind isn't just a nice to have, it's a necessity. And the good news is, you have the power to choose who gets your time and where you spend it. Let's take a moment to reflect on the 4 types of people we've talked about. First, there's the chronic complainer, who greets you with a sigh and a list of grievances, pulling you into their negative mindset. Then, the manipulative user, who seems friendly but always has an agenda, leaving you feeling like a resource instead of a friend. We also have the drama magnet, who thrives on conflict and expects you to join their emotional roller coaster. And finally, the negative nostalgic, who's so stuck in past regrets that they dim your optimism for the present. Each of these people, in their own way, can sap your energy and disrupt the peace you've earned. But here's the thing, you don't have to keep showing up at their homes out of habit or obligation. You can choose to protect your well-being by being intentional about where you go and who you spend time with. One of the most powerful tools you have is self-awareness. Start paying attention to how you feel after visiting someone. When you leave their home, do you feel uplifted, inspired, or connected? Or do you feel drained, frustrated, or like you're carrying emotional baggage that isn't yours? That feeling is your guide. For example, think about a friend you love visiting. Maybe it's someone who makes you laugh, listens to your stories, and sends you home feeling lighter. That's the kind of relationship worth investing in. Now compare that to a visit with someone who leaves you exhausted. Maybe they spent the whole time complaining, asking for favors, or dragging you into their latest drama. The difference is night and day. And once you start noticing it, you'll see which relationships are worth your time and which ones aren't. Let me share a quick story to bring this home. My Aunt Margaret used to spend every Saturday with a group of old neighbors. She'd come back grumpy, and we couldn't figure out why. Turns out, one of the neighbors was always stirring up trouble, gossiping, complaining, or roping everyone into her problems. Margaret felt obligated to go because they'd known each other for years. But those visits were stealing her joy. One day, she decided to skip a Saturday and spend it with a friend who loved gardening and always had a positive outlook. Margaret came home smiling, full of energy, and realized she'd been missing that feeling for a long time. That's the power of choosing who you surround yourself with. You don't have to cut people out completely, but you can decide to spend more time with those who make you feel good and less with those who don't. Here's a practical step you can take starting today. Make a mental list of the people you visit regularly. For each one, ask yourself, how do I feel when I leave their home? If the answer is drained or stressed, think about why. Is it their negativity, their demands, their drama, or their fixation on the past? Once you identify the pattern, you can set boundaries. Maybe you visit less often, keep it short, or suggest meeting somewhere else, like a park or a coffee shop, where it's easier to keep things light. If it's someone you care about, but their behavior is too much, try a phone call instead of a full visit. Boundaries aren't about being unkind. They're about protecting your energy so you can show up as your best self for the people and moments that matter most. Another key point is to remember that you're not responsible for fixing anyone else's problems. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you have to be there for someone, especially if they're struggling or seem to need you. But if they're stuck in negativity, using you, creating drama, or dwelling on the past, you can't change that for them. That's their journey. Your job is to take care of your own well-being, to make sure your days are filled with joy, not stress. After 65, every moment counts, And you deserve to spend them with people who appreciate you, who value your time, and who leave you feeling better than when you arrived. Let's talk about what those good relationships look like. Think about the people in your life who make you feel truly seen and valued. Maybe it's a friend who always has a funny story, a family member who asks how you're doing and really listens, or a neighbor who shares your love for books or cooking. These are the folks whose homes feel like a warm hug, where you leave thinking, that was time well spent. Invest in those connections. Plan a lunch date, invite them over, or just pick up the phone to chat. Those are the relationships that recharge you, that remind you life is still full of possibilities, no matter your age. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Your golden years are a gift, and how you spend them shapes your happiness. You've earned the right to prioritize your peace, to say no to visits that drain you, and to say yes to the people who bring you joy. Small changes, like being mindful about whose homes you visit, can make a huge difference in how you feel every day. So take a moment to think about who in your life lifts you up, who makes you laugh, who leaves you feeling energized. Those are the people worth your time, the ones who make your days brighter. I'd love to hear from you now. In the comments below, share one thing you learned from this video or one step you're going to take to protect your energy. Maybe it's setting a boundary with a chronic complainer or planning a visit with someone who always makes you smile. Your thoughts mean so much to us, and reading them keeps us motivated to create more content to help you live your best life. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us reach more people like you who want to make the most of their golden years. And don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a new video. Thank you so much for watching today. You're not just protecting your energy, you're building a life filled with joy, connection, and peace. Here's to surrounding yourself with people who make every moment count and living your best life at any age. We'll see you in the next video.